first of all, let me welcome all of you here that are participating. The intent of this program is to talk about alumni and NESA committees, how to start them, how to build them, how to make them stronger if you've already got one. Right? We expect this to last about an hour. One of the things we want to stress is that this is a group effort. The ability to contact and engage our alumni is of overriding importance. We think it's going to be one of the most important things that we can do within Scouting to help the organization and to help our youth, particularly once the bankruptcy has been settled. And so we are trying to establish up front strong alumni committees and strong NESA committees to be prepared for that eventuality, so we can actually capitalize on the membership that we've got. And we can all help each other. It's one of the things that Scouting has that most people, most organizations don't have, is the committed volunteer database and volunteer membership, because all of us have had our lives changed by Scouting at some point in time or another. Going to give me the next slide, please. Now, these are the things that we're going to be talking about. Today's agenda is to talk about reasons to have alumni NESA committees, the vision for these committees, what types of other council affiliation groups might be involved or might be considered to be part of this, what types of information you might have, and where you can find more information. But before we get started, let me talk a little bit about what alumni are. Alumni essentially are not just the people that were in Scouting and not just people that became Eagle Scouts. When we think about it, only 4 to 6% of the youth that join Scouting ever become Eagles. And we've got a really strong NESA network, the National Eagle Scout Association network, throughout the United States. The alumni groups tend to be a little bit weaker than that. They're not as well established. And so we're trying to change that. But the reality is we have far more people that have been engaged in Scouting than ever become Eagle Scouts. Literally millions. And alumni are not just the people that were in Scouting as Scouts. Alumni include parents, include committee members, include merit badge counselors that may not have been Scouts, but even more so, they include everybody that was touched positively by somebody in the Scouting organization, which would include every single individual that benefited from a service project, from an Eagle Scout project, or from any small act of kindness or any touching upon them where they had a favorable view or a favorable impact of Scouting. And so as we go through this program, think about that. Think about the fact that there are many, many millions of people out there that have been touched by Scouting, either in Cub Scouts, in Scout and Boy Scouts at the time, in Explorers, in Venturing, and Sea Scouts, or as somebody who just saw what the organization did and what they do for their communities. And so this is what we're trying to do, and these are the people that we're trying to engage. Okay. Just a little bit about me so that you know, I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm from Orange County Council in California. I am currently the Western Territories coordinator for council support for alumni committees, for building alumni programs. And more than that, I've got a son who's an Eagle Scout, a daughter who's an Eagle Scout, another son who's in the Air Force right now, as I alluded to earlier before the program started, for those of you who didn't hear it. And I'm still actively involved in Scouting as an assistant scoutmaster, as a committee chair for a venturing crew, and on many different levels within our council. Ross is my co-presenter today, and he's going to take over at this point. Ross, if you want to give a really brief bio, and then you can go ahead and go to the next slide where you're taking over.
Sure. My name is Ross Arnold, and I am from the Greater Los Angeles Area Council in California, Southern California. I started as a Cub, and it's 59 years later, and I'm still involved. Actually, it's 59 continuous years. I'm also an Eagle Scout. I have two sons, both Eagle Scouts, a grandson who is a Weeblo now. I'm currently on Jeff's committee. I won't give you the whole long name again. It doesn't fit on a card. And I'm also the chair of my alumni association in my own council and a member of the NESA committee. With that, I will move on. Not going to answer it. Okay. I believe in scouting. I joined because I enjoyed it. I stayed in because I made a lot of good friends in it. And some of those friends I still have today. Scouting was good to me. And I assume if you're on this call, it's probably good to you too. I want to support the next generation. One of the things that I really enjoy is seeing the young men and young ladies grow in the program. I'm also a teacher, by the way. I teach at a university. I've been in education now for almost 45 years. One of the things I recognize that many of the things that I teach in my class about leadership, about decision-making, about planning, are all things I learned in scouting. And my college students had never learned. Very few of my students were scouts, and you can certainly see it in the way they operate. I still believe America is and will be the better because of scouting. I still believe it's the best character building program in the United States. And one of the things I learned going through scouting is we're here to help others. And I want to give something back. I want to make an impact in my community, whether my community is just a few blocks around where I live, or the city I live, or the state I live, or the country I've grown up in. I want to make an impact, and I believe by participating in scouting, I can do that. I have skills and expertise, and as many of you do too. And these skills and expertise are not as common as you might have thought at one time, but they need to be taught. And scouting gives us that opportunity to interact with young people, to share our skills, expertise, and education. Like you, I have some great scouting memories. I've been to 5 national jamborees, both as a contingent leader and staff. I've been to 1 world jamboree as a camp director. Wonderful experiences. I've been to a number of the high adventure bases. If you haven't had a chance, please do it. By the way, they just announced the jamboree is going to be in July of 2023, and I'm already looking forward to it.
You signed Tico Perez to be the director for the jamboree that year, which is going to be really cool.
Wow.
Tico's a great guy if you haven't met him.
He is. And one thing that scouting has taught me, it's about giving, not getting. But I certainly get a lot from it myself. And there is no better leadership program for youth than the BSA. And Jeff?
Okay, so one of the things that we're doing here is there are lots of detailed ways that we could put this together. But the important part is that what you really need to have is a vision of where you want to go. And that's part of what we're talking about. And the vision that you have is really going to be guided in part by what your needs are in your council. And that vision is going to guide how you put your committee together and what types of activities and programs that you want to run. So we're really not going to discuss in detail mechanics as much as we're going to discuss what things are out there and what things you might consider doing. Next slide. So one of the things that we want to start you off with is that the BSA Alumni Association is a relatively new group, and they are still getting their feet underneath them to some degree. This is their website, and again, for those that we've had many people ask already in chat, I will be sharing these slides with everybody after the program. So as long as you've provided the information we've requested, and we've got a few more people on board now that weren't here earlier. So let me, in the chat, if you would add your name, email address, council, and whether or not we have permission to send your contact information on with the other people in this in the group with us today, I'd appreciate it. But everybody that provides an email address, we will send the slides out to afterwards. And this is the website, if you go on there, and the website has a fair amount of really good information, and it's the way that they're going to be communicating with people as we go forward. And I guess one of the persons contacted me and said that it would be helpful if everybody would mute their microphones for those that have not, just because I guess some people are getting a little bit of background noise. Next slide, please. Now, we recognize that the needs of every council are different. You know, if we're looking at the Montana Council, their needs are not going to be the same as Orange County. You know, they've got a huge geographic area, and the types of programs that their alumni or NESA committees are going to run are going to be different than the kind of programs where I'm from, where we've got, you know, 8,000 adult volunteers and a population of, you know, 10 or 12 or 14 million in a very small area. You know, we've got different types of opportunities that each of us have and different types of needs. And so what we want to do is, rather than tell you how to run different events, we want you to look at the kinds of things that you might want to consider addressing, and then pick opportunities that work for you, or develop opportunities that work for you. Develop things that will draw in the people that you've got, your alumni and your council, that will benefit everybody there. Go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and take over, Ross? I'll let you talk about this stuff.
Okay, so we're not going to tell you what you need to do. All of you have been part of committees. All of you have been maybe even chairs of committees, and you know how committees function, how they're supposed to support the program of the council. You are best situated to figure out what your council needs. So I often use my story of duct tape. You know, no one goes into a store saying, I'm going to buy some duct tape, and they go look for something to use it on. You go look for duct tape when you have a problem, when there's something you want to solve. You have a leaky faucet and you need to stop the leak, at least temporarily, until you get it really fixed. So what we're going to offer you today is different ideas, different practices, different suggestions of different things other councils have used, but there's no expectation that you do everything. Use what you need, like a piece of duct tape. Use what you need when you need it. So we're going to give you all kinds of resources to think about, to share with your committee, but from what you do with it is up to you. So in terms of scouting events, there are many different kinds of scouting events that alumni can get involved in. Do keep in mind that if you have an alumni that is not registered with the Boy Scouts, they do need to go through that process if they're going to be around Scouts. If it's an outside, if it's an organization which really isn't interacting with Scouts, they don't really need to be members of the Boy Scouts of America. For example, in my own council, we wanted to reach out to people who had been very active in Scouting, but now are no longer, maybe because of age, or maybe they have moved to another area, but we still wanted them at least to be engaged. We're not asking them to join the Boy Scouts, but we have asked them to become a part of the Alumni Association. For joining the Alumni Association, they get access to our newsletter. We give them a subscription to Brian on Scouting. And if you heard me, I was talking to Jeff before the meeting, we'll be sending them a decal or a bumper sticker. That's it. Keep it simple. Councils, districts are always looking for leaders, but a word of caution. Because you meet someone who you're very impressed with, don't necessarily find them a job, find them a task, something they can do, feel successful in. My philosophy is, if you get them to do one thing and they do it well, you can get them to do another thing. Service events, of course, there's lots of events where Scouts can get involved, alumni can get involved. Let me go to the next one. There are many social groups, social activities, baseball here in Los Angeles. We're now playing in the playoffs. Open house at camps, special events such as wood badge reunions, camp reunions, OA reunions. There's lots of reasons to get together. And it could be something as simple as, getting together after work at a local watering hole. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Jeff, is this one mine or yours?
That one is the last one of yours in this group.
Okay. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved with BSA alumni. These are just some of them that have become into reality in the last couple of years. I often get questions about the OA Alliance. Who are those people? Well, these are people who are not registered in a lodge. So if you're registered in a lodge, you don't need the alliance. These are for people that have been in the Order of the Arrow and have moved on. You probably recognize a few of these. One that's close to my heart is the Educators Group. These are the ones that sponsor the Fretwell Award for Outstanding Educators. If you're not familiar with that, my email will be at the end of the presentation. Send me an email and I'll happy to send you what I have on it. But there's a lot of different organizations. If you were past in the military, I know, William, you were in the military. There is a military group. There is a police group. There's a fire group. There's even a retired scouting professional group. So there's lots of different ways to get involved in scouting. With that said, one of the confusion I've run into about from some people is as an alumni group in a council, does that mean you're in charge of all the alumni activities? And the answer is no. I'm not in charge of Wood Badge in my council. Wood Badge people are in charge of their Wood Badge when they have the reunion. I'm not in charge of the staff reunions we have 2 summer camps. But my job is to make sure that they market it, not just to people in our own council, but people outside of our own council, maybe who've moved into other parts of the country. So I support these. My committee for Los Angeles only has 9 people. We have an alumni association that has a much larger group of people who are formerly associated with scouting. But our job really is to market their program, to support their program, to get the word out about what they're doing so they get more people. And I'll use Wood Badge again as an example. Because of the density here in Southern California, we have lots of people who might have done Wood Badge in another council. Does that mean we don't invite them to our reunion? Of course not. Of course we invite them. We put it out in our newsletters. We put it out, the Wood Badge, put it out in their newsletters. In fact, we have a get together on the 30th of October. And this is not just people who went through our Wood Badge in our council, but anyone in our area is invited. And from these groups, by the way, that's where they get their leaders for the next Wood Badge and the Wood Badge after that. Jeff?
Okay, so part of the alumni program is actually trying to reach out and reconnect with the alumni. And that's traditionally been a very difficult thing to do because we don't know who they are. And we have a good handle or reasonably good handle on who the Eagle Scouts have been in the association, but not of the general scouting population. So one of the areas upon which National has been working for the last year is putting all of the information they have into an accessible database. And this is meant to do 2 things. It's meant to provide a tool for us as committee members who are trying to reach the people in our area that are alumni that we may want to invite to different programs. And it's also meant as a way to be able to look up old friends or people that you may have been in scouting with or people that you may have worked with in scouts with before, to be able to contact them again. So this is the address for the directory, the portal directory that people have. And you will start an account by providing your email address and a password like you do with many other items. And then if you give me the next slide, and then once you get in, you can update your profile and you can do searches for Eagle Scouts in your area or searches for people that you may have known when you were a youth or people that you may have worked for as an adult. And this is the type of information they've got. Basic contact information, email, phone number, who your affiliations with scouting have been in terms of organizations, like the affiliate groups that Ross was talking about, which councils you've been associated with. And then I will mention that this is not exactly a bug-free site yet. And so if you notice the awards area on the right-hand side, this is my profile, and you see the little spinning arrow of death. Well, that doesn't populate yet. And so when you see this, if you find that you've got bugs in there, there's a bug reporting form that you can either use. A lot of the information on your own profile you can update yourself. But if you notice bugs, there's a report form for reporting the bugs. And you know what? I probably should have included a link to that here, but I didn't think of it. But again, if you give me an email address or if you have any questions, feel free to email either Ross or myself, and we'll put you in contact with the right people to get those types of things corrected. But this is a project that everybody can work on, and it'll become a great tool for being able to reach out and engage people as we're going forward. Next slide, please.
Before we go on, if you look at, it's a little hard to see, it says alumni search, alumni advanced search. In the alumni advanced search, you can actually find people, if they've registered, who were members of your troop when you were a youth, or if you want to invite former members of your troop to a court of honor. This is a good resource.
And I was going to say, one of the questions we got is, if you're already an adult leader, should you go onto the portal? And most definitely yes. First off, you should go see if they actually have you in it. So you create an account to be able to go in it. And if you're not, you can go ahead and add yourself. So it's another way of reaching out and being able to maintain contact with other volunteer scouters in the area. I don't remember which one of us was talking about this, Ross. Is this you or me?
I don't know.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and keep on talking then.
Okay.
When we're talking about alumni activities, when we're talking about NESA activities, we're talking about really developing fellowship. It's a social program. It's meant to be able to build and maintain that network of contacts that we had and we enjoyed and we appreciated when we were in scouting. It's meant to be informational. It's not meant to be a meeting, an hour-long meeting of 60 minutes of what your council is doing. It's really meant to be a way of getting together and say, hey, what have you been doing with your life? What are you doing with your kids? What are you doing at work? What are you doing for fun these days? And, maybe a couple of quick updates on what your council might have going. Are you having a council appreciation dinner? Are you having a scoutorama or a camp fair of some sort, a scouting fair of some sort that you want to invite them to? But, that might be 5 minutes out of an hour-long get-together. They're not meant to be, another thing that alumni meetings and NESA meetings are not meant to be are fundraising activities. If people are engaged in scouting, funds will follow. And so we anticipate that these will become financially beneficial to the organization, quite probably strongly beneficial, but it's not really meant to be. It's the purpose of these organizations is not meant to raise funds. They're meant to develop, build, and strengthen relationships that we have one-on-one with the people that we've worked with or the people that we've enjoyed the program with. And they're also a good place to mention volunteer possibilities or opportunities. Like Ross mentioned, we're looking for someone to fulfill a task. For example, we're looking for someone that can help us build a new path or a new trail for our summer camp. Or we're looking for someone that can help us contact the people that were in Troop 412 in our area back, because you may know some of those folks. But we're not pushing work either. We're really pushing fellowship. And so that's the way you want to be thinking about these kinds of programs. But volunteers, people jumping in to go to programs, additional financial opportunities, those things will follow as a natural progression of maintaining and strengthening the social and fellowship aspects of the program. Next slide. This is you.
I know. Okay. So What are some best practices? Let me share some with you. I'm not going to go through this whole list. I've talked about some of them already, but let me share a couple of them with you. My committee did a little investigation. When I talk about my committee, I'm talking about my council alumni committee. You know, if you go to most council websites, it's really easy to find that you can donate money. Almost every council website has, you want to donate? You know what most council websites don't have? Do you want to volunteer? Something as simple as that. We did find a couple. St. Louis has it on theirs. LA has it on theirs now. I think there's one or two others we found out of 250 councils. So we were looking for a way, as we meet people, as we interact with our alumni, what can we refer them to? And here's an experience that I've had. When I've referred people who might be interested in being a merit badge counselor or getting involved, and I send them to the council office, in other words, they call the council office, what do you think the reception is when they call that office? Anybody? What do you think they get when they call?
A message to call you back.
No,
Okay.
they get nothing. They literally get lost in the cracks. I've tried it. So let me share a couple with you. I'm going to go on to the next one. There it is. I'm going to go to this one. One of the things we started in my council is a gathering of eagles. And it's a concept I picked up from Todd Plotner. If you any of you know Todd, he lives in Michigan now. He used to live in part-time in Chicago. He's an attorney there. And he started this idea, and I went to the national planning meeting back in 2015 and shared it with me, which was a really simple idea, which was through LinkedIn, he would invite people who identify themselves as Eagle Scouts in LinkedIn, and many people do actually, invited them to a local watering hole right after work, like 5:30, 6 o'clock, to join me at the brewery on First and Main Street. I'll buy the first round, and let's get together and talk about scouting. And we started doing that. It was such a simple concept. They're usually there for an hour or two, depending on how long. You don't need to stay into the end. And it's just fascinating, just listening to the conversations. These four pictures here are from four different Gathering of Eagle events. The one would have the big crowd there looking at the camera. That picture was actually on the national website for a while. I didn't know that until I ran across it. I am not in the picture because I actually took the picture. But one of the things I've learned from this experience is the people outside our councils don't recognize our borders. So when you send something out to people in Los Angeles, well, we have 4 councils in Los Angeles, and they don't recognize that West LA and Greater LA are not the same council. So one of the things that I discovered when I would refer people, because I always asked everyone there, are you interested in getting involved? And I usually get at 10, 20% saying, yeah, I'm interested. And I call them up. And then if I'm not in my own council, I refer them to another council. And my experience has been, they have no idea what to do with these people. They have no system of capturing these people who are Eagle Scouts who know the program. They don't know what to do with them. So my question to all of you is, what are you going to do with them? If you start going out into the communities and trying to gather your alumni, do you have a system of capturing them? Some way of communicating with them? Some way of engaging them? So an idea like this gathering, it's a great way to get people to come together. Todd shared with me that he was actually, after a few years, he was actually getting people who were meeting and these gatherings actually becoming part of the board. I'll go through a few of these. The picture up in the upper left-hand corner, that was actually at a law firm. So a whole lot of Eagle Scouts who are interested in either going to the law or already attorneys met. We had a nice, I think about 80 people at that one. The one in the lower left-hand corner, that was a football game, a Monday night football game. That's our boardroom. And we're watching the Rams play somebody, I don't remember who. And of course, you see the food in the background. Here's something I did learn. You can have this one. This is something Todd didn't tell me. When you send out an invitation and people say, yeah, I want to be there, the reality is that if there's no skin in the game, you got a 50-50 chance whether they're going to show up or not. So if you go out and buy food, you're going to end up a whole lot of food either you have to give away or throw away. So one of the things that we started doing is charging $10. Now, we really don't need the $10, by the way. We usually get people sponsoring these things. But we used to have about 30% of the people show up, and now it's close to 60% just because they put $10 in. We have a nice patio outside our council office, and we met there a couple times. During COVID, it's really nice, especially in the summer because we overlook downtown LA. So let me go back one more. Hold on before you start, Jeff. I shared with you already, we created one thing on our website, which is, would you like to volunteer? And one of the things that we do, the alumni committee does, not the professionals. Like in your councils, we have a lot fewer professionals than we used to have. So volunteers have to take over, and we did. So one of the things that we do is once someone signs up who wants to volunteer, within 48 hours, someone contacts them and has a conversation. And the conversation is pretty simple. Where are you from? What have you done in scouting? What would you like to do in scouting? And here's something else I learned the hard way. The youth who went through scouting and then went on to their lives and went to college and so on, one of the things that I've learned is their knowledge base about adults in scouting is very limited. When you say, would you like to volunteer? Their first thing is, oh, you want me to be a scoutmaster? No, we're not asking you to be a scoutmaster, but there are things that you might be interested in doing. A young man who contacted me about 2 weeks ago was really into a specific camp in our council. He was on staff there for a number of years. And for each of our council camps, we have a steering committee. So I got him connected with the steering committee. He's now a member of that committee. He's also a bugler. So now he's a bugling merit badge counselor. And that just comes out in the conversations. The other thing that we started, as I said before, is the Alumni Association. And how we started that is we have about 500 Eagle Scouts each year in my council. And as those young men and young ladies get through Eagle Scout, they have tendency to move on, go on to college. And many of those Eagle Scouts have parents. In fact, all these kids do. So we reached out to them, asked if they would be interested in joining the association. We're not asking them to, again, become members of the Boy Scouts of America, but they might. But the main thing is we want to get them connected. And something that Jeff said, I want to emphasize, in a soundbite, what is an alumni association, a council alumni association committee? Our job is to keep the good people we have and to re-engage the people we lost. If you want to share that with your council exec, your council president, if you're interested in starting a committee and they want a soundbite of exactly what you're going to be doing, that's what you're going to be doing. Keeping the good people you have, re-engaging the people that you've lost. Jeff?
Okay. Let's see. I'm sitting here typing away as we go through. Here's another resource that you've got. It's a Facebook group that is called Scouting Stories, and the link is there. And basically, it's just a place where positive scouting stories can be found. And these can be used for a variety of reasons. These are open source stories. They're newspaper articles. They're stories that people have written specifically so they can be shared. And those are things that could be used as newsletter articles. They could be used to share to group meetings where you're going. They could be used for promotional purposes just to engage people with back into scouting again. but they're things that are meant to be positive, beneficial, that you can showcase as a way of showing that both scouting is still relevant today, and also to show some of the good things that are happening with scouting. And so it's a group that you may want to go look at as well, just to kind of see what kind of stuff is out there. Next slide.
Jeff, if I can jump in for a minute, because
Sure.
it triggered something in me. In my council, we started doing these in our own council. And so far, we've collected about a dozen of these stories from mostly people from our board, but some of the people are not on our board. And each month, we're highlighting one of these stories along with the picture of the author. And we're using these to promote scouting. A lot of our people who get our newsletter might have been members way back, and they're still getting our newsletter. And this is the way they get re-engaged. Yeah.
So there are a number of opportunities that are available to for us to use as tools. And these are general tools that can be used both to recognize people and to be able to promote the concept of alumni. The BSA Alumni Award is one of those. This is one of the most underutilized awards that's available in the entire scouting program. And in fact, when they did an article on knots and how which knots were popular and which ones aren't used very much on Brian on Scouting, for those of you that are familiar with that, the Alumni Award ranked lowest in all of the knots that were generally available. The knots that ranked lower to this were things like the silver antelope and the silver beaver knots. And I think the reason for that is because people don't know that this opportunity exists. This is an award that's designed to recognize those scouters that go out and promote continued engagement within the scouting program. And it's a pretty simple process. It's basically self-reported. It's an application process that is used, and it's similar to the BSA Scouters Training Award, which typically takes 2 years to earn that. And most people spend about 2 years earning this award as well. You've got a set number of tasks that you've got to fulfill. There are 6 categories, and you've got to complete a number of different activities in each one of those 6 categories. And those categories include things like membership, promotion, re-engagement or recognition of old alumni, financial development, and you've got to complete 1 or 2 or 3 of each of the items in each one of those categories to be able to be successful. I found this was an extraordinarily useful tool as a district chairman. When I became district chairman of my district, and I had about 2,000 2,000 scouts in my district and about 200 adult volunteers, I made it a requirement that everybody on my district committee start working on this award. And the benefits that we saw were multiple. One of the things it did is it helped bring in, we were short on merit badge counselors, it helped bring in merit badge counselors because people were talking to people. It helped us meet our JTE, our Journey to Excellence requirements for our district level Friends of Scouting program. And it wasn't something where people actually go out and when they're earning this award to actually say, oh, I've got to go find someone to talk to make a donation. The way it worked out for me and the way we try to present this is these are things that most people are doing anyways as they're going through programs. As an example, I'm sitting in my dentist chair and my dentist we're talking and he asked me, what did you do last weekend? And I said, well, I took my scouts out camping. We did a backpacking trip up the top of San Jacinto Mountain, which is a local mountain in Southern California. It's 11,000 feet, not quite 11,000 feet high. And he said, wow, that's great. I was a scout when I was a kid and I was an Eagle Scout. And I immediately corrected him and said, no, you were not an Eagle Scout. You are an Eagle Scout. But he was very engaged in this. And it wasn't somebody I went out to talk. And I said, I'm actually working on our annual fundraising drive. Any chance you'd like to make a donation? And before I left that day, he had given our district a check for $250. It wasn't something I was seeking out. It was just that he was excited about the program and excited to share that he was an active scout when he was a youth. And so most of the things that you can do with this award are things that just happen organically as you're talking to people at the grocery store, people at work, wherever you happen to be. And so if you haven't already earned this award, go look at it and see what it entails. But from my perspective, I found it was a great tool for re-engaging people that are still active in scouting and helping them re-engage people that they used to work with or that they know. And that helped our district significantly when we did this. And it's a great program for building an alumni council or an alumni committee as well. Next slide.
Just a quick addition to that. Often I get the question, so who is the person that signs off on this? Who's the person who's like my counselor? That would be the chair, either the chair of your alumni committee in your council, or it's the person who's in charge of awards in the alumni committee in your council. If you're not sure who your alumni chair is, ask your council exec, ask your council president. If you don't have one, that's another story. That's when you need to contact Jeff or I, and we'll get you engaged. Okay?
Yeah. And I was just going to say, the next slide is the application, and that application is available online. There's the website for it. And again, you guys will have that when you get the slides. But it's basically just a fill in the application form, mark the things that you've got done, and at the bottom, you've got to have it approved by the chair of your alumni committee and by your scout executive. And if you don't have someone to work with in your council, as Ross said, please feel free to contact one of us. We're happy to mentor you until such point in time as you have an alumni committee that you can continue that work within your own committee. Next slide. Now, another tool that we have are the Alumnus of the Year awards. Again, this is an award that not many people know about. There are 3 different levels for this award. There's a council alumnus of the year, there's a territory alumnus of the year, and there's a national alumnus of the year. These are roughly analogous to the Silver Beaver, Silver Antelope, and Silver Buffalo awards. Every council has the ability to be able to issue one of these awards a year. And this award is designed to recognize people that have provided or service in terms of identifying alumni or helping their council by engaging alumni in their council. And it's also partially based on other volunteer activities you've done both inside and outside of scouting, and a little bit about what you've done professionally. But the bulk of the award is meant to recognize alumni activities or alumni development activities. Every council can issue one of these annually. The deadline for this is the 31st of December. In the territories, we've got 4 territory awards that will be given out. And the national service territories, which are the new replacement for the areas and regions that we've had traditionally, for the last 20 years or so. We're going to have 4 of these. The territories are grouped. My Western territories are territories 1, 2, and 3. But these awards are being given out on a territory basis based on which territory your group is in, your NST is in. And then there's 1 national award that's given annually. So in many respects, this award is more selective than even the Silver Beaver Award, since only 1 of these can be given a year at the national level, and only 4 of these can be given on a territory level, and only 1 in your council. And I know that in my council, we typically give out 8 to 12 Silver Beaver Awards a year. So this is a pretty significant award, and it's a way of recognizing those people in your council that give it. And again, if you don't have an alumni council an alumni committee in your council, you can't utilize this award. So until you have an alumni committee, this award's not available to you, but it's one of the things that you can use to be able to strengthen and to promote your alumni committee within your councils. Next slide. All right, I'm gonna let you take over, Ross.
Okay, another way to use some of the resources, if you look down at the bottom of this page, you'll see the BSA Alumni store. It's the same store as the NESA store. And it's a great place for resources. If you have people in your council who you want to recognize for their service, particularly years of service, 25, 50, or even 75, there is no formal application process. A council can purchase these. I don't remember what the price is off the top of my head. But it's a way of recognizing people for the service they provide scouting. These are some great awards to present at your annual dinner, not to take away from the Silver Beaver Award, which is usually the purpose of the dinner, but it's certainly a way to recognize people who have given years of service to scouting. Again, do check out the store. There's a lot of things on there that you kind of wonder, gee, is this something that's in the scout shop? Well, these things are not in the scout shop, okay? It is definitely something that you're going to have to go through our BSA alumni store. Me again? You again?
This is you.
Okay. So here's some other awards that I do want to bring to your attention. The one is the Outstanding Eagle Scout Award. It is similar to the Distinguished Scouters Award, but this one is more generated at the local level. The Distinguished Eagle Scout Award, something has to be approved by the NESA committee at the national level. I have actually nominated someone who got rejected, someone who's already a silver buffalo. So it's a pretty prestigious award. But this Outstanding Eagle Scout Award is something that you give usually if you have an Eagle Scout dinner. It's something that's well done there. It's, again, recognizing Eagle Scouts who have gone on to their various occupations, distinguished themselves at the local or state or national level, who have made a significant impact in their communities. Another award that I want to bring to your attention is the Glenn and Melinda Adams National Eagle Scout Service Project Award. This recognizes an Eagle Scout in each council that has done a significant award. If you have a NESA committee, hopefully they are presenting this each year to an Eagle Scout. That Eagle Scouts project is applications then sent on to the region, and there's actually a regional award, a territory award now, and then there's actually a national one. If you've been looking at Scoutwire or Brian on Scouting, those two organizations have been promoting this particular award and recognizing scouts from the previous year who have been receiving the recognition. Some outstanding projects. I mean, really brings tear to your eyes just to see them. If you're interested in these type of awards, please go to the NESA.org, and there's great information about it. The restriction, by the way, the Eagle Scout Award for the service project is one per council. For the National Eagle Scout Award, the NESA, as we call it, you can have one for every 100 Eagle Scouts in a year. So in my council, we have about 500, so we can actually have up to 5 people. We've decided never to have more than 4. So it all depends on how you want to work this out. With that, next.
So how do you get started? Some of you already have committees, some of you don't. You know, the bottom line is that get started, you have to understand what the process is and what it is you want to achieve with the committee. And so this program is kind of a first step in that process. You've got a little bit of a taste of what NESA committees and alumni committees are meant to do, and some ideas on what you might consider. But the more you learn, the better off you're going to be. And so there are resources out there that help you do that, including Ross and myself and other people that are on the council support committees. And there's a whole nationally, we have about 60 people that work in council support. Next thing you want to do is obtain permission. You may want to talk with your scout executive. You may want to talk with your council president. to be able to talk about forming a committee. And in most councils, an alumni committee ranks on the same par as an advancement committee or a leadership development committee or the finance committee. It's a high-level committee within the councils. And typically the person who's on the alumni committee, who's the alumni committee chair, sits on the council executive board. Then you want to find out and get help. You can't run a committee by yourself. So you're going to have to recruit people to be able to assist you with functions that you want the committee to do. And typically we recommend that a committee have no fewer than 3 people. So 3 at a minimum. And then like any other committee, you need to make a plan, put something together. What are your goals? What's your vision for the group? What do you want to run today? What do you want to run next 6 months? What do you want to think about running in the next 2 or 3 years strategically so that you know where it is you want to go? And then you want to start doing something visible. Let people know that you're out there. Get people involved in what you're doing, bring them into the fold, and as more people learn about it, you can work on developing more programs or larger programs or things that you get going. Next slide. One of the areas that you can learn more is there is an alumni training program on my.scouting.org. Same place you go to take YPT training, same place you do hazardous weather training. Go to the My Training tab on that, and then do a search on alumni. And these 7 alumni training programs will come up. They take about 2 hours to go through. And this happens to be one of the requirements for the alumni award that I discussed earlier. In fact, if you do this program, these training programs, and you jot down the fact that today you are participating in this seminar, you've met 2 of those 12 activities that you need to do to be able to earn the award. And so you're actually on a really good start for that if you wanted to get started. Next slide. Finally, once you have the vision, once you've got approval from your council president and your scout exec to be able to go forward, recruit your committee and get started. There's nothing to stop you. You don't have to be grandiose to get started. Get a committee together and do something small. Have a small get together at a local restaurant like Ross talked about. You don't have to have a recognition program for Eagle Scouts with 200 people as your first program. Do something small and build from there. And then regularly look at what you're doing and say, what might we do to get better? Now, there are places that you can go to be able to find ideas for what to do for both NESA and alumni committees. They're called best practices. It's really not a best practice, quote unquote. It's just things that different councils or different committees have done across the country that worked for them. Some of them might work for you, some of them might not. But pick and choose, go through and say, wow, this is a really cool idea. I could do this. We could do this in our council. And then go out and try it. And those are listed on the the BSA Alumni Committee website. And NESA has some on their website for the NESA programs as well. Don't be afraid to look around and look for ideas. And when you develop something new, please, please, please share it with us, because all of us build on each other. That's how we all get better, as together. Next slide. So really, the rest of this program is meant to be interactive. It's questions from you guys. What would you like to hear about? What things can we help you with? Where do we go from here? And Ross's and my contact information are there on the screen.
So I don't know if we're doing raising hands, but I'll go first. My name's Ethan Angel. I want to say great presentation. I do have a question. So with the formation of the Alumni Association, where does NESA fit in? So we have a NESA committee, and our council's kind of floundering whether we should be under the umbrella of alumni or need to be standalone.
Let's see if I can take a stab at this one. There is no set rule that you have 2 committees. A lot of councils have 1 committee and they function in both areas, but that means they have both responsibilities too. You know your council best. What's going to work best? And this is where you need to have a conversation with your scout executive, your council president, and do some brainstorming. What's going to work best for your council? I can't tell you that. Only you know that the answer to that question. But again, getting back to something Jeff said, start simple and build on success. Okay? Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Next question.
Actually, I was just typing an answer in here. John Ryan, I don't know, are you related to Jack Ryan by any chance? At any rate, John Ryan asked if we could have an alumni group for a troop, and that's completely appropriate. Alumni groups can be at any level of scouting. I've seen them for packs, I've seen them for troops, I've seen them for districts. We have them for councils. I've seen them for council camps and council camp staffs. I've seen them for, we have them for our national camps as well. There's a Philmont staff alumni group. So you're not limited in terms of what alumni are allowed to have. And there's no reason not to have a troop level alumni group if your troop would benefit by it. And if there's somebody that wants to put it together and make it work. And I know our troop, for our 50th year anniversary, brought in about 100 alumni from people that used to be in the troop from as much as 20 years before that attended our Court of Honor, our 50th anniversary Court of Honor, just to be able to see what the troop is doing. So, no, I think that's a super idea.
We have a troop here in Los Angeles that's been around about 100 years, and their sponsoring organization is the Old Timers Club. These are all people who have been in the troop.
So I'm going to put in a quick commercial interruption for my own personal project that I've got going on right now. Can I take your screen back away from you for just a second?
Sure. That's what everyone looks like.
Can you guys see that?
Yes.
That's our fundraising patch for our Antarctic group, our venturing crew that's going to Antarctica in December. I mentioned before we started that they were running a fundraiser. These patches are $12. They're basically the size of a 3-inch activity patch, but these funds are going to help provide for the kids to get their some of their accessory gear for when we go to Antarctica in December. We have 20 venturing scouts and 18 leaders that are going down, and we'll be spending almost 3 weeks in Argentina and Antarctica on a cruise where they'll be helping with scientific studies and working on a variety of different scout programs during the time that we're gone. And this is the very first scouting expedition where a scouting crew, as opposed to individual scouts working on projects, have ever gone down to Antarctica. So we're pretty excited about the program that we're going. So I'm going to end if you're interested in this, the patches are $12. Put your name and address and phone number in the chat, and I'll get back to you with how to go ahead and order them. And now you can have the screen back again.
I'm not going to put the thing back up.
All right.
Are there other questions? Yes, no?
This is Gary Moore. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. I went to Philmont in 2014 and took the alumni class there at Philmont. And Gordon Adams was there. I think Chuck was there. And it seems to have morphed several times since then into the Scouting Alumni and Friends. And now we seem to be back with the the Alumni Association. I guess my question is continuity. Has any of that flowed over this time?
There has been some continuity, and there's certainly been discontinuity with what's going on. As I mentioned before, the Alumni Association has been struggling to find ground that they're going to, where they're going to be moving forward and what their own vision is. And the vision just within the last year has solidified in a much more stronger manner, in large part and partially in response to the bankruptcy stuff that's gone on. National management has decided that alumni are going to be one of their key criteria for outreach and for bringing in new volunteers into the association over the coming years. And you'll see more information coming out on things after the bankruptcy is finalized and they're able to start focusing a little bit more on membership development and other activities associated with re-strengthening the association and bringing it back to a former level of health.
There was a full-time employee who was in charge of the Alumni Association. Forgotten his name. The associate director was Ryan Larson. And I know that I believe both of those have moved on. Will there be an employee of BSA who is actually in charge of the association and has guidance there?
We actually have someone in charge of that now. And
Who is that?
I was afraid you're going to ask me that.
I read your mind, yeah.
I know. You had to catch me on something, right?
Hey, Jeff, that's Anna Marie Moran.
Thank you,
Okay.
Tim.
Yeah,
Tim
I know.
Brown is on the line with us too. Tim is my boss. Is the head of alumni outreach and council support at the national level as a volunteer.
Hey,
Okay.
Jeff, that's a good question because I went to Philmont this summer and took that class. Upon return from Philmont, I tried to get into those websites to register and all that, and it would not let me do it. So I don't know if those things are open now. And up until this point, I had never had a contact name for anybody at BSA that I could communicate with about these issues. So, I mean, the word we got then, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, because you were there too, was that because of the bankruptcy, everything is kind of up in the air right now. And we were hoping to have had a resolution to that by now.
Well, we were supposed to have a resolution in August, and quite frankly, it's been dragging on much longer than any of us anticipated. In large part because the settlement offers have not been accepted by the plaintiff's attorneys on what's going on. And a large part of that revolves around their desire to be able to seek damages from the charter organizations in addition to the Scouts. And the Scouts aren't willing to settle on anything that doesn't protect those chartered organizations. So that's really what the sticking point is right now.
Yeah,
So
we're
you're right.
here
There's
because
been,
we're losing the Methodist churches in our council right now.
well, we think that we're in our district, in our council, we actually aren't losing them, but a large part because we're working with them to be able to show them that we're trying to protect them. And that's one of the things that National's really, really concerned about. They don't want to leave people hanging out to dry.
Right.
And so that's probably the biggest reason things haven't settled already. And that being said, you're right. They're still siphoning off a lot of resources into the defense of what's going on. They're still siphoning resources off into being able to keep the program going for the youth. And some of these things are languishing a little bit, but they're still making progress. And the site is open. I mentioned that they've got bugs. They haven't been able to fix the bugs as rapidly as they would like, but it's happening. And so part of it is we need to continue to be patient. And part of it is we need to recognize that their timeframes are in large part also fluid because of what's happening that they've got no control over.
Remember, you were able to sign up as a Pathfinder or, let's see,
Those were the old membership.
hiker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those were the old membership levels. Right now, they have not established any membership levels, and anybody that signs up, we're actually doing as a free membership basis until we have time to be able to re-examine that further.
They have my name and I guess just my name and my phone number in the database, but all of the other information that I populated over the years is gone.
Well, and that's something that I'd like to know about. If you'd put a note on that to me, I'd appreciate it, because that's the kind of stuff that we need to turn into the person who's in charge of the alumni portal, so that those kinds of issues can be addressed.
You might also want to check your own council office and ask them to give you a printout of your ScoutNet record. You'd be kind of surprised how much stuff is not there. where we get a lot of that information for the database is from your ScoutNet. And if it's not up to date, we'd have a lot of trouble getting it.
I moved from the Chief Seattle Council in Seattle, Washington, out to the Pine Tree Council in Maine. And they quite graciously started a brand new account for me and didn't carry over my BSA number. So
Yeah,
I think it's problematic.
I understand. And I feel for it. I actually did a printout of mine. It only has 5 awards on it. Obviously, I have a few more than 5. Any other questions?
Well, just a comment on that last gentleman who said that when he moved from Washington to Maine, that all of his records got deleted, whatever, and they opened up a new account for him. I moved from California to Idaho, and they wouldn't let me carry on my number. They said that it's confusing. National won't let you do that. So
That is true, and that's one of the challenges that the portal people have been facing, and they've been trying to figure out a way to deal with it. I don't know where they are on that, but it's a known issue that impacts a lot of us because, quite frankly, many of us have moved over the course of our professional careers. And for those of you that are at retirement age, many of us will be moving again. So all I can say is that it's being examined.
In the defense of the Boy Scouts, that stuff did not disappear. If you go back in using your old number, you can actually probably find it.
What you can do, what I did not last year, the year before, I went to the council and I asked for all my record and they printed for me. And I have it with me, and something happened in the council even, I have my record.
Might be a good idea for all of us to do that, so we have our own record. I know mine is poor.
Can you put out the name of that contact person that's in charge of this now at BSA?
I will include that when I send out the slides. I'll go ahead and get the information, and I'll put that in with the slides when I pass it out.
Thank you.
How can you get the slide program you're talking about?
If you've got your name and email in the chat, everybody that's done that will get a copy.
Okay.
And here's one of the reasons why we're going to give it to you. We want you to take this information back to your own councils. If you don't have an alumni association, start one. Start planting the seeds. It took me almost 6 years to start an organization. I had to wait for a couple council presidents to move on. I'm now on my 3rd council president starting this project, and I finally got it approved last May. I just had to wait for the right personnel to get in the right seat. Are there any other questions? Have we beaten this horse to death?
I would like to thank all of you for your time again. These kinds of seminars are really important to get information out. You are all now ambassadors to some degree for the alumni program, because for most of the councils, you will probably know more about what's going on than most of the people in your council. Don't be afraid to share this information. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask Ross or myself for more information. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, we are here and willing to do so. And again, thank you for everybody for all the time you've spent and for your obvious commitment to the youth and being able to make this better program for the youth across the country.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
thank you, everybody.
Jeff, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
So one of the areas I'm finding is that our frustration is the volunteers know what they're doing, but the professional staff that are the not the commission profession, but the behind the scenes folks have no idea what to do. So is there something specifically or a direct way that we in the volunteer group can get the stuff down to national if we find the registrar keeps losing paperwork?
I don't think I can have any control over that, unfortunately.
One
You
thing
know.
I should tell you, one thing I've learned, never send your only copy to national.
Well, it's not even that, guys. I mean, this has been like a multi-year thing that it's, 6, 7, 8, 9 copies of awards get lost at our central office. If that continues to occur, should we just email you guys the award forms?
Is this for the alumni award and specifically? Yes,
Yeah.
by all means, go ahead and email it to me.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great night.